All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go and get started. Sorry we're getting started late. We've got lots of topics on the agenda today, and we're going to do our best to give each one of them due consideration. In the event that we run out of time, we do plan on having a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 to take care of those bills or listen to those bills that we don't get to today before we have to go in session at 2. So with that, Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton. Senator Bell. Senator Carnley. Senator Coleman Madison. Senator Elliott. Senator Figures. Senator Gavan. Senator Orr. Senator Singleton. Senator Smitherman. Senator Stutz. Senator Weaver. Senator Barfoot.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
All right, we've got a quorum. First bill we're going to get on today is HB 227. I know this is Representative Simpson. I know Senator Gavan has a substitute that will be offered. We also have a public hearing on this. The appropriate time, we'll start that public hearing. We'll give 2 minutes apiece. Right now, we've got 3 folks signed up as opponents to that, and we'll give you 2 minutes apiece when we get on that. Representative Simpson, if you'll come tell us about the bill, and then I think Senator Gavan has a substitute.
There we go. I want to apologize in advance for your microphones up here. Y'all make sure.
Sorry, Representative Simpson, if you want to go ahead and explain the bill, I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill will revamp the ethics laws as they are in Alabama. This is a bill that has come from many years of not just this bill, but many years of work in this building to try to address the ethics laws and make sure the ethics laws make sense. The goal behind it is clarity and to end the confusion. I do want to point your attention to the 2019 committee report for the Code of Ethics Clarification and Reform Commission report that was dated March of 2019. The second sentence in that report says, in establishing the commission, the legislature recognized that the current Code of Ethics was originally enacted more than 40 years ago and has been amended at least 25 times since that time, and that the piecemeal amendments combined with the involving interpretations of portions of the code have created confusion regarding the scope and application of numerous sections of the code. The legislature further recognized in the act that the Code of Ethics applies to more than 300,000 individuals and their families in our state, from statewide elected officials to local public servants, such as teachers and firefighters, and that the public is best served by clearly articulated ethical standards and policies so that our state's public servants and the general public can better ensure that our government operates with confidence and integrity. That's the statement from the report of 2019 that was authored by and head by co-chair Attorney General Steve Marshall and co-chair Executive Director Tom Albritton of the Alabama Ethics Commission. Their report in 2019 talked about the confusion and the convoluted questions we have in ethics, and this bill is attempting to fix that problem.
Thank you, Representative Simpson. There's a substitute. Senator Van, you offer that substitute.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would offer a substitute, and I do want to point out a couple of things that are different. Senator Smitherman just asked me the question about it. So a few things. One is we'd made one adjustment through our discussions with the Attorney General's office, and then this substitute is a combination of suggestions made from different senators of both parties, and some suggestions from the ethics director, some from the Attorney General's office. So it's a mixture of suggestions that have come to form this. Where we kind of landed on one issue is that specifically on bribery, and it's one of the things that we changed. It had started out, it came out of the House a B felony. Everything was a B felony, whether it was $1 or not. And so Representative Simpson and I had some conversations, and we agree on the concept that if you, just because you sell out cheap or cheaply, doesn't mean you shouldn't be convicted of a felony. I've always made the statement of if you sell your vote for a dime, that's bribery. And so where we landed on it was up to $10,000 would be a Class C felony, and above that would be a Class B felony. Another issue there was the possibility of the Ethics Commission being able to refer things if they determined that was a corrupt intent. That's something that the Attorney General's office pushed back on, so we just took that out. Then there was a clarification on pecuniary gain that attorney pointed out really should be a or situation, not an and so we literally changed that. I know I'm forgetting one thing, but it was minor, I think, in comparison to what we just talked about.
Thank you, Senator Gavan. He's a motion to adopt the sub. Is there a second? Senator Smitherman, second on that. Senator Orr.
Yeah, I had a comment. Representative, I was on that 2018, 2019 group that looked at the act, and we had a bill that I didn't file because I heard you had a bill, and here we are. But to have that legislation that addresses the concerns of that commission, it's been a whole heck of a lot of time looking at some of the inconsistencies. I would say this, and I've told the chairman and other members, I hadn't read the sub completely, but got some serious concerns about your bill, and we'll certainly see the substitute that's going to be before the committee. I understand chairman's prerogative. We may not be voting. We'll have less than 24 hours to look at that closely. I know the sponsors emailed that out, but that committee did have some good recommendations, but this bill seems to go far beyond those recommendations. But thank you for your work, and your interest in this. I told my fellow caucus members, once you get into it, it's like punching the marshmallow man. You get all engaged and kicking, and it just morphs. When you push here, there's a reaction over there, all through the code when you start getting into the Ethics Act. And, my compliments for engaging the marshmallow man in that doing battle, because it's a heavy undertaking, and there are a lot of implications when you start punching it and trying to change it.
Senator Gavan had one comment he wanted to make about something that he had said previously, and then we'll go to Senator Smitherman.
So there was a language in there for the impeachment of the ethics director, like a district attorney can be impeached. They've just added the reference from that chapter in the code. That's the other change.
Senator Smitherman, and then if there are no other comments after Senator Smitherman, we'll vote to adopt the sub, and then we'll have a public hearing.
I just got a request of Senator Orr. Would you provide that information that you just touched on? That information, I appreciate that. As soon as I know you're doing other things. As soon as you can, I appreciate it. Okay.
All right, we got a first and a second on the sub to adopt the sub. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll for us.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot.
Aye.
12 and
All right,
favorable.
we've got the sub now is adopted and in front of us, and we're going to begin the public hearing. We have 3 opponents that have signed up to speak. We're going to give you 2 minutes apiece. Ms. Catherine Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, was part of that 2018-2019 study group. We all put a lot of hours into that, as will anyone that tries to rewrite this. It is not easy. I also commend Senator Gavan for taking this on. It is hard to reach a perfect compromise. I think, though, that if we're going for clarity, I will just simply say that I'm not sure we have achieved that. This obviously separates some crimes from some civil offenses, but with a big overlap of when one may become the other. And that's what I think is going to be the biggest problem as far as seeking clarity here. There are some things that could be use of office for personal gain if somebody wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. But if they wake up on the other side, it's just going to be a civil penalty. And there is really no clear line where that's going to be. That might be unusual coming from me because y'all think we're the ones setting the traps. But the truth is, clarity and very clear lines is really important for the prosecution and the defense. Remember, too, I'm subject to the ethics law as well, as are all the people in my office and the Attorney General. So I think if we're going for some clear lines, I think we've had some good conversations about some ideas on how you get there. Maybe if we had had a little bit more time, we could have worked it out because I think there's some room. There's some room for compromise. There's some room for a middle ground. But I think it's really important to keep criminal investigations and prosecutions with the prosecuting entity, to keep civil things, to have an option for a civil remedy, which we already have under current law. But the truth is, I think to some degree, we've all learned to live with what we've got. That doesn't mean it's perfect, but to go in a really different direction right now, I just would urge you to really read this carefully. We continue to be available for conversations as this debate progresses.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. Next up, Mr. Hart, Matt Hart. Welcome to Senate Judiciary, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly. I'm Matt Hart. I'm a defense attorney from Birmingham. I spent many years as a state and federal prosecutor, focusing very closely in most of my career, nearly my entire career, on corruption work and ethics-related issues. I've done hundreds and hundreds of matters under the current ethics law and done dozens and dozens of hearings, trials, and so forth. I'm only here as a citizen, don't represent anybody else. My firm, nobody's asked me to do this. I'm not billing this hour. And I appreciate all your work on this. Important thing, hard to do, but I think that I feel like I need to speak. This bill that has been introduced, first of all, it totally disregards the product of that commission that Senator Orr referred to and that Mr. Representative Simpson referred to. Sure, they critiqued the ethics law legitimately, I think, in some ways, maybe not in others. But that process had all the stakeholders involved and was very intensive: business, law enforcement, education, prosecutors, public officials, all had input. Great product. I know some of you supported it at that time. It is totally disregarded in what we have here. And this bill violates, in my view, as a citizen, the first rule, do no harm. It's not just a lack of clarity. This bill takes a couple of the violations, felony violations, criminal violations, and moves them into the criminal code and preserves them as prohibited conduct for public officials and employees. It gives opportunities on minor things for administrative hearings and reprimands and so forth. But there are many, many things now that are crimes in our ethics law right now that simply go away. They just are not going to be illegal. I'm going to give you a good example.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. 2 minutes, unfortunately, is up. Thank you
Wow.
for coming.
All my notes on that.
You covered most of them. I think.
Okay.
Hey, thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Albritton, Tom Albritton. No relation to Greg.
You know, everybody asks that. No relation. Nothing that I disavow, and I don't think he disavows it either, but no relation. Thank you for having me here today. And I do want to reiterate the points that the other two speakers have made, and I share those same concerns here. The Revision Commission in 2019 made a lot of really good recommendations, spot fixes to the act that I would encourage you to consider. because there was a lot of buy-in to those. The one issue that I will speak to that the others haven't is I would urge you in whatever you approve to preserve the independence of the Ethics Commission, whatever form that takes in the eventual legislation that is approved. The independence of the Ethics Commission is a fundamental principle. It is a national principle, and it is to be guarded for the goodwill of public servants primarily. You want an independence ethics commission, and what is proposed does infringe upon that independence, and I would ask for you to reconsider that. Otherwise, for the same reasons that the other speakers have said, we thank you for working with us toward this bill, Senator Gavan especially. Thank you for meaningful dialogue on this, and we remain committed to working with you toward a bill that is acceptable to all the stakeholders, should that be an option. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Albritton. Senator Orr.
You know, since it was referenced several times, and I didn't know it would be and Senator Smitherman, I'll get you a copy. You may be asking yourself, committee members, well, if this commission did all the work, why don't we have a bill from the work of the 2018-19 that included the Attorney General, the Ethics Commissioner, and as one of the speakers said, all the stakeholders? When we got, the commission had finished its work, you know what happened. We had the 2019 session, we had gas tax and other things, new year of a quadrennium. My thinking was to bring it in 2020. Well, we know the second year of the quadrennium. Well, we know what happened that year. Shortly after we gavelled in February, we had a meltdown called COVID that hit us. Then we rock into 21, 22, which I would consider getting close to an election. You got a heavy lift issue. I refrained from filing a bill. Then we get into 23 and lots of things going on. And I'd pegged this year as the year, and then I heard about the Speakers Commission that Representative Simpson chaired, and that group doing work in 23 after the session, and then for the 24 session. So like I said, I didn't think it prudent to have two competing ethics bills floating around in this chamber with each other. So I said, well, let me just stand down and see what comes of this bill. But I have it. Senator Smitherman, I'll give it to you. And if any others of you are interested in the legislation and that commission report, I'd be glad to get that for you.
Members, any other comments, questions concerning the substituted bill? Senator Coleman Madison.
One of the gentlemen, he was cut off in the middle, but he got to some points that I really would like to hear what he wanted to say at the end. Mr. Harden, it was the last gentleman that was up. Mr. Harden, I think. It was Mr. Harden, I think. He had, you had some points that you were going to make at the end, and I didn't. I was waiting to hear what those, but your time ran out. I would like to hear what he had to say, because I just got this. I mean, I got one version, then we read it, then before I could finish, even we got another one, and this was just handed me. Yeah, it really was. It was this morning. We weren't in a meeting, and I haven't had time to do anything with it. I'd just like to get all the information.
I'm perfectly willing to say it. No question about that. But
Let's do this. I'm gonna move to carry this over. We're gonna have an opportunity tomorrow to maybe put it back on the agenda. Maybe some folks will have some questions that have been answered between now and then. And Representative Simpson, did you want to say something?
I am available for questions and answers on all this stuff. I think it's important to get past the rhetoric that you read in the papers with agendas and look at the bill itself. And I want to thank Senator Gavan for his hard work and effort that he's put in for the past month going through with this. And this is the way legislation should work. This has been open, transparent to the public. We've got input from the House, from the Senate. I'm very pleased with the way the process has worked through this bill.
Let me echo some of the things you just said. I don't, y'all had a study commission or the House commission committee that met during the summer multiple meetings, I think online, available for the public to hear and see. You took on a hard task, slings and arrows from all directions. You didn't waver. You're doing what you think is right and best, and you ought to be applauded for that from both sides or from every side, because I think too often we get into a position where we do the politically thing, the thing that we think politically is correct, and the thing that, we shirk the hard tasks that are before us. And so I want to tell you, thank you for putting your head down and trying to figure this out. Senator Gavan on the Senate side as well, I know he's put a lot of time in it. So,
Chairman.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Simpson, in the new substitute, is the Ethics Commission still going to be an independent entity?
Yes, they are. They're an independent entity. We've changed from the House substitute, from the House bill. The House bill had where there was an impeachment process that would occur through the Legislative Council. Senator Gavan has taken that out. That is, the legislature is not the oversight of this anymore. At this point, it will be, if the director gets impeached, then it would be impeached by the same way that the district attorney would have to be impeached through that process, the code process of how that works. It also, the appointing authorities would be the ones that actually remove the person that are appointed on there. So it's not a legislative oversight. We
Right,
think
because
the
it needs
bill,
to be independent.
it is
Thank you.
independent. We feel that has strengthened the bill with Senator Gavan's work.
Thank you.
Senator Gavan?
And just another change that we made is the original House bill had that the current director would have to be approved by the Senate Confirmations Committee. We took that out because he's already there. It was changed to say once there's a vacancy, that person. But we did not, again, just like we were working with the health officer bill, we didn't want to make this personal, and so we wanted to take that out.
But who appoints the director?
The Ethics Commission.
The Ethics Commission. So, do we confirm that person now?
Yes.
I think initially it's confirmed, and that carries over indefinitely. I think that's the way the
Okay.
current law is.
Okay.
But the House bill had him going in front of
Right.
Senate
Oh, I
every
agree.
5 years, and so I took that out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, no more questions or comments. We'll carry this bill over and may very well take it up tomorrow morning at 8:30 then. Second bill on the calendar is HB 409, Representative Chairman Judge, by many names, Hill.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 409 says this, that a prosecuting attorney advising law enforcement officers on or agencies in a matter of criminal, civil, criminal charges, or criminal investigation is acting as a prosecutorial function, which would give that individual a degree of immunity. That's the nuts. That's the whole scope of this bill.
Senator Smithman?
I move for favorable
Got
report.
motion for, there's, no. I believe it was amended in the House, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir, it was.
Judge.
It's, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was amended in the House. And so what you've,
Yeah. All right. We've got first by Senator Smitherman, second by Senator Bill. Any other comments or questions on the bill? Hearing none, Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman,
Aye.
Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, and Senator Barfoot.
Aye.
13 in favor.
All right, Bill's giving favorable report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now you've got the next one up, HB 63.
also amended in the House. HB 63 is amended and substituted in the House, says this. A judge can, right now you can give a 20-year split 5. That's all you can do in Alabama. This is a 30-year split 20 up to 20 with a minimum that would have to be imposed is 10. So what this does is it lets a judge sentence an individual to a 30-year sentence, which obviously is a Class A felony. That individual could be split down to 10, but they would have to serve at least 10. Could be required to serve at least 20. Once they get out, they go into a probation type scenario, and at that point in time, they are still subject to the judge who can resplit the sentence or completely revoke it in its entirety.
Got a motion for favorable, Senator Bell.
Second.
Second by Senator Smitherman. Senator Albritton, comment or question?
Comment. if
Yes,
I may. The result of this is keeping people in prison longer, right?
I would say the result of this would be keeping people in prison shorter.
Shorter?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because a 30-year sentence, if you look at a 30-year sentence, then I think the code says it's a minimum of a 1/3, and 1/3 of 30 is 10. So 10 was what they must serve. This would allow the judge, however, to split it up to 20. Right now, the Board of Pardons and Paroles, while they certainly can parole someone, they do not have to. So if you split someone 30 serve 10, they're going to serve 10, but at that point in time, they're coming out.
Okay. So the intent is to get people out of prison.
It is, and it also is to keep the particular individual under the control of the sentencing judge.
Thank you.
Judge, if I can, I'm going to differ with you a little bit. While that may be true in some cases, I see this split bill as the ability for the sentencing judge to continue to monitor that individual and effectively could keep that individual, if they're not doing what they should do after a day for day of 10 years, to keep their eyes on them, and if they're done wrong, then to send them back for the remainder of that 30-year sentence.
Absolutely, or some portion thereof.
Okay.
Or a portion thereof. It could be either. Like any split, you can resplit. You know, we passed a bill that lets you resplit the splits, meaning that you don't have to revoke for the entire balance of the term, but you can split that remaining period of time into smaller segments.
Senator Carnley.
So this is dealing with Class A felonies.
Primarily because it would be a 30-year sentence, and a Class A is 10 to 30, 10 to life, 10 to life.
What's a good example of a Class A?
Murder,
years?
manslaughter, rape. You know, although listen, you think about your most serious assault, first degree. You think about your most serious felonies; those are A's.
Gotcha. That's why I wanted to know that.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Members, any other questions or comments? All right. We have a first and a second already. Senator Orr. Okay. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Fingers, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman,
Aye.
Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot,
Aye.
10, 1, and 1.
All right. Bill's given favorable report. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
All right, next bill up on the calendar is HB 36, Representative Ensler. I will say that we have already passed this virtually the same bill. I think there was a House change, but it was Senator Singleton's bill. Senator Smitherman.
I just move favorable report.
Got a motion for favorable, second by multiple. Okay, second by Senator Coleman Madison. Go ahead, Senator Bell.
I thought the previous dealt with the Glock switches that we did.
That's correct.
But this one covers the binary triggers and all, don't it?
No, it does not. This covers the same, just the Glock switches.
Just the Glock?
Yes, sir.
No. No. I guess I thought some of the wording was different in this one than the one we already had.
I think
The other one I think was a little bit.
I think the changes that were made in the House that were different than what Senator Singleton's bill were is that defined specifically it would only apply to a handgun. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it would not apply to anything else. That's my understanding of that amendment in the House.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments? Sure, Senator Carnley.
Does this match your bill? Exactly. Same bill? Is your bill already, is your bill down there for a vote? So it's it. Right, but your bill's already down there, right?
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right. If no other comments or questions, Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the long roll for us.
Senator Albritton,
Say again? 36.
Senator Bell, Senator Cornley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr,
Same bill we passed out before, so.
Senator Singleton, Senator Smithman, Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot.
Aye.
6, 4, and 2.
All right, bill's given favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next bill up on the calendar is HB 334, Representative Allman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe you all have passed this bill out as well. Ms. Weaver has the companion bill in the Senate. However, and I have some confusion about this, but I believe after it got out of committee, there was some question about the impact to the general fund, and so we're going to try to hope to address that. But basically, this
Let's
bill.
Let me apologize. I think there's an amendment. I'm not sure who's going to offer that amendment.
I would if you'd like.
You got to offer the amendment, Senator Albritton
Yes, sir.
first and Senator Gavan second. Members, it's in your package. If we could go ahead and call the long roll on that.
Senator Albritton,
Aye.
Senator Bell, Senator Cornley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott,
Would you like for me to briefly explain what the amendment does, just so they?
I think the members already have read the amendment, but you're welcome to explain it.
It basically, the main thing it does is puts a cap on the amount of money that can be paid to the victim that we're adding to the bill.
Yeah, this is a very friendly amendment, I understand, and this is a bill that I think we deserve to take a hard look at, hopefully vote it out. Let's get through the amendment if we could. Go ahead, Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman, if you could turn your mic on for us.
If this is the same bill that Senator Weaver had relative to victims' compensation restitution, her bill really wasn't about restitution to victims. Her bill was about compensation, additional compensation to people who served on the board. That needs to be very clear. This has nothing to do with victims' restitution. It is about increasing the salary or compensation that people who serve on that board gets. And so if this is the same bill, and we keep saying this, and maybe it sounds good, but we need to be clear about what we're voting on. So is this the same bill? Okay, so it's not about victims' restitution.
Yes, ma'am. It's about both of those things. The original bill does two things. First of all, it adds victims of human trafficking to the definition of work loss, and it treats them the same way we currently treat victims of domestic violence.
But not about increasing any
The second thing the bill does is that it allows the board to be paid two totally separate things, but up to $250 a day and reimbursed for expenses as other boards are. That's two different things that the bill does.
Right, but it's just that it's been billed that it was an increase for restitution, but that's not really, I understand what you're saying.
Well, currently, victims of human trafficking are not allowed to be compensated at all, and this would allow them to be treated the same as victims of domestic violence. But because there was some concern about how much money that might cost, Senator Albritton has offered this amendment to cap the amount someone could receive in that category over their lifetime at $5,000.
It further, if I might, it also allows the commission may require verification, that's a may, by the enforcement agency or prosecutor's office,
That's
giving some oversight on what the costs are and such.
Financial oversight's never a bad thing, is it, Senator
I don't think
Albritton?
so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Smithers.
Senator Albritton, would you look at in that amendment, whether we have to do it on the floor or not, would you look at the fact that if we were going to put the cap on it and we're going to put the lifetime provision on it, can we not put it on as a lifetime provision for that incident that they're being paid? Because what we're saying is that if that happens,
I follow
to
you.
them, yeah, you follow
I
what
follow
I'm
you.
coming from.
I understand what you're saying. I'd be happy to consider anything that you may want to bring up, but I'd like to get this done so we can get through the committee and get this dealt with the floor if we may. But I think you're correct. This deals with a crime and a particular crime to a particular individual. That doesn't mean if they have a second issue that they can't get paid for that also.
Would you clarify that on the floor with an amendment?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments on the amendment? If not, we're going to start over with a new fresh roll. Ms.
Senator
Ogden,
Albritton,
on the amendment.
Aye.
Senator Bell, Senator Cornley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz,
Yeah, help the human trafficking
Senator Weaver,
folks, y'all.
Senator Barfoot,
Aye. All right.
10-2.
We've adopted the amendment. Now back on
Mr.
the
Chairman.
bill as amended. Senator Figures.
If I may, please. What was just voted on was limiting or capping the amount that a victim can receive in their lifetime. If they've lost work or whatever, it's been capped at $5,000. So if a victim has been paralyzed, they're in their 20s or whatever, this has been capped at $5,000. And that's why I voted no.
Let me address that. I don't think that is a victim across the board victim. It only applies for those victims of human trafficking, the victim's restitution for any other crime out there. This allows those victims of human trafficking to actually get something that they're not getting now. So I think the amendment just caps something that's not even available now, just so it
Well,
won't
why
run
should you
to.
cap it for them either if they have been part of human trafficking and all of the mental and emotional things that they could be going through and would need further help more than $5,000?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to change my vote. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to change my vote to no.
Very well. Senator Coleman Madison changes her vote to no. The amendment's adopted. Back on the bill. Any opposition? All right, let's use the long roll. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call it.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Cornley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figures,
No.
Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman,
Aye, for the human trafficking victims. Aye.
Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot,
Aye.
10-2.
Bill's given favorable report. Thank you, Representative Allman.
Thank
Mr.
you all.
Chairman,
Appreciate it.
I have a
Senator
question
Figures.
still on this bill. So the 200 and the other part of this bill that gives the $250 a day to the people on the board. So is there a cap on that?
250 per meeting. I think that's the standard pay for.
But it's also per
boards.
day that you work, that they work, or that they're doing something, as I understood it. Is that not so?
Are you asking, might they also be being paid for their regular job while they're doing that? Is that what you're asking, or?
No, there was something in the bill that I remember from the last time that the board members were being paid $250 per day for each day spent in the performance of their duties. Is there a cap on that? But you put a cap on the victims. That's why I voted no. So they could actually be performing their duties 365 days a year.
I believe they meet once a month as a board.
But this doesn't say per board meeting as it usually does in the statutes dealing with boards. It says in the performance of their duties. And since they're dealing with victims, I would assume that the performance of their duties could entail them working with the victims in certain.
Well, the staff members probably do that on a daily basis, but the board members themselves do not do that.
I just want to clarify why I voted no. And that was the problem we discussed with Senator Weaver's bill at that time. And it is no clarification of that.
Thank you, Senator Figures. These arguments fuel. Bill's giving favor report. Now we're on HB 100. Representative Clark. I'm going to maybe make this painless and easy for you. I know since the last hearing when you discussed it, we got a motion for favorable.
Second.
And second, multiple first and second across the board. Senator Bell, Senator Figures, Senator Barfoot.
The entire committee.
Any opposition to using previous roll?
Yes.
Senator Figures, would you like to be added?
Row. We can use the very first row.
All right. Any opposition to using unanimous roll?
Yes. No.
Hearing
no
none, Bill's given a favorable report
yes,
unanimously.
Let's use that
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I also like to thank the Secretary of State's office for his support and assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Representative.
Chairman, I'm going to have to step out just for a minute. We got a conference report going on over there. So
Very well. We got a few minutes. Been told we're fine. Now we're on HB 174. Representative Drummond. We also have a public hearing on that. Is Representative Drummond here? Senator Sessions. Is there anybody here to speak on that bill? Yes, Senator Sessions. No, you're handling HB 174, Representative Drummond.
Yes, sir, I am.
Give us an idea of what this bill does.
Basically, you've seen in the news lately, we've had a lot of issues, not only in Mobile area, but Montgomery, Huntsville area, different areas. All of our Big Ten mayors are on board with this piece of legislation. Basically, I know most of you have looked at it. It's changing for shooting into an occupied dwelling to a Class A felony. And
I move for favorable report. We also have a public hearing, but I have a motion for favorable. Second by Senator Weaver. Let's go into the public hearing session. We have two opponents and one proponent. We'll give you 2 minutes apiece. Mr. Jermaine Burrell is an opponent. Mr. Burrell, if you're here.
Good afternoon, Judiciary Committee and Senior Senator Vivian Davis Figures from my hometown of Mobile. I stand before you today to strongly oppose changes to HB 174 and as a victim of the very crime myself, as my home in Mobile was shot into multiple times while I was away. Firing a weapon into an occupied dwelling is undeniably a serious offense, and I empathize with victims who endure such traumatic events. I oppose HB 174 for the following 3 reasons. 1, the bill fails to address gun violence in our communities and risk imposing life sentences regardless of intent and loss of life. 2, existing laws already allow for Class A felony charges in cases of murder for this offense. 3, HB 174 will increase the school-to-prison pipeline, disproportionately affecting the Black community. Today, I find myself in a surprising place. After hearing excerpts from Professor Ruha Benjamin's honorary degree speech over the weekend, her words deeply resonated with me as I reflected on my observations about HB 174 in our community. Her statement, "Black faces in high places are not going to save us," echoes in my mind. Black faces in high places are not going to save us, echoes in my mind. So I stand here today as a voice for those who have been and continue to be manipulated and misled regarding HB 174. I stand for the little black boys like me whose fathers are or were incarcerated in the Alabama prison system and whose mothers are or were on welfare. The same prison system that built or is building a bed for them in its confines. I stand for the generations of little black boys or girls yet unknown when black faces in high places fail us. The battle on HB 174 may be lost today, but the war is far from over. We fight black. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is Paul Birch, Mobile County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Birch. You got 2 minutes, and I know you got a lot to say, but if you can say it in less, that's fine.
Yes, sir, probably less. So, first off, this has nothing to do with race. We've had 7 shooting into occupieds in the last week, one of which a 5-year-old was struck in the face. Thank God the injuries were minor. What we're trying to stop is the reckless disregard of firing into someone's home. And I say it is a deterrent. And again, it's not about incarceration of one race or another. My brother's in prison right now for bad choices. And that's what this is a bad choice to possibly destroy someone's home. And yes, Class A felonies, murder is a Class A. However, the intent of this is to put a stop to it before there's a murder committed. And this is solely for the protection of our community. There's a very small percentage of these violent offenders committing these acts.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
All right, next up, we have the last opponent is Shalala Dowdy, Mobile County. Welcome to Judiciary.
Good afternoon, Chair Barfoot, Senator Figures, my elected senator, and other distinguished committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today concerning House Bill 174 and how it can negatively impact the citizens of Alabama. I am Shalala Dowdy, a major in the United States, Army Reserves, second vice president of the Mobile branch of the NAACP, and founding president of Stand Up Mobile, and I'm here to speak in opposition of HB 174. On the surface level, this bill aims to rectify a problem that we have in our communities concerning gun violence. It is important to look at the bill as a whole and what it is aiming to accomplish and determine, is that already being done and is the bill needed? This bill deals with shooting into an occupied dwelling, which is considered currently a Class B felony, where an individual can receive 2 to 20 years in prison. HB 174 would make it a Class A felony to shoot into an occupied dwelling, where an individual could receive 10 to 99 years in prison, which is basically life, whether there is a loss of life or not. Currently, I do not see where intent behind the shooting is being considered within this bill. The way the bill is written, if someone's firearm mistakenly goes off in an occupied dwelling, whether impact is made from the bullet or not, they can receive life in prison. Bills like this can be dangerous when not properly thought out or worded. I understand why this bill was authored and introduced, but the example cases on why it is needed have resulted in those responsible being charged with felony murder, which is a Class A felony with the option of being sentenced to the death penalty. There is already a projected path to charging individuals with a Class A felony for shooting into an occupied space. For some individuals, prison is supposed to be a form of rehabilitation for those who have committed a crime so that once their time is served, the likelihood of reoffending is lower or decreased. There's no way that can possibly be done if someone is sent to jail for 99 years who did not harm anyone. The solution to this problem should not be centered around adding to the mass incarceration numbers, but working towards resolutions on how we can get ahead of this problem before the guns end up in the hands of these individuals. Alabama prisons are already overcrowded. I've heard the narrative that too many of those being charged are pleading out and accepting plea deals. That issue should be taken up with the district attorney's office, who are the ones providing plea deals as options. It should be noted that 18 of the 28 members of the House of Representatives that belong...
Thank you for your time. 2 minutes has expired. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, members, any questions or comments before we've got a first and second on the bill. Any questions, comments before we vote? Senator Figures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It pains my heart to vote against my House member and sister Representative Drummond and also my sheriff, Sheriff Burge. But I have to tell you that I'm also a victim of having my dwelling shot into when I was not at home as well. I think most of you read it in the paper. However, just as I don't believe in the death penalty because it certainly does not deter people from committing crimes and murdering people and the other heinous crimes they commit, I don't feel that this will deter that either. I think this problem goes a lot deeper than just charging somebody with a felony and putting them in jail for life. I think that, and I've said this many times before, we've got to get to the root of why these crimes are happening with our mainly our young people. And it doesn't start by them being charged and put away in prison for life. So I will have to vote no, but my no is with that. And if it truly did deter, because the death penalty doesn't deter anybody, and that's it. So I don't see how this is going to deter them from continuing to discontinuing the shooting. When we have all of these guns on the street, we continue to pass bills that you can have a gun without even having a permit, which means you don't even get to have a background check on you. The legislature did that. And I fought against that. And I was with law enforcement during that time. And I just don't think this is a deterrence. And I cannot, in good conscience, vote for this bill.
Thank you, Senator Figurs. Ms. Ogden, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Albritton, Senator Bell, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Elliott, Senator Figurs, Senator Gavan, Senator Orr, Senator Singleton, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz, Senator Weaver, Senator Barfoot.
Aye. Bill's given favorable report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it does deter just one child from being accidentally murdered, I feel it's worth it.
Thank you, Senator.
There are already laws on the books for that, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, may I just make a point? And going back to something Senator Figurs said.
Senator Coleman Madison.
I think Senator Figurs is right. I mean, to lock someone up because you could have been randomly shooting. I mean, you have a lot of folks get out there New Year's Day, 4th of July, people are shooting or what have you. It ends up going in somebody's house. But to lock somebody up for the rest of their lives for this, the crux of it is that we need to do something about access to firearms. And we will not pass any type of gun control, regardless of the fact that we have children being murdered, elderly folks, people who are just walking down the street minding their own business, people who are in their homes. And it's all about the access to the weapons. We have more guns in the United States than we have people.
Thank you, Senator Coleman Madison. We're right up against the wall. We're going to try to get HB 392, and then we're supposed to be on the floor, and we'll be back probably tomorrow for the other ones.
Well, thank you, committee. Thank you, Chairman, for letting me hurry through this. So I'll be really fast.
If you go real fast and we get it approved, and we got Representative Brown back there that's...
All right, I'll be done real fast. And this bill is
got a
just
motion
about
for a
transfer
favor by
title.
Senator Bell. Got a second. I'm the second. Any discussion on the bill?
Mr. Chairman.
I know we're
Yes,
in a
sir.
rush, but I'd like to know what it's about.
I want to know why it's necessary and what, I'm just trying to think through, having been through some estate settlements.
Well, it's necessary for two reasons. One, according to the probate code, you should only be able to transfer an asset once an estate has been probated. So we're creating another vehicle, no pun intended, to transfer that title, which would be an affidavit by all the heirs. So that way all the heirs agree to the transfer of that title. And right now, the Department of Revenue has a form that if you walk in with a death certificate and you're the first one there, you can transfer the title to yourself. And in my law practice, I've had several people end up in that situation, and there's no way to really pull that back without filing a lawsuit. So this is just to, one, actually make it legal to transfer title without probating a estate to save cost. And then on the second end, is to protect all the heirs, to make sure all the heirs agree to the transfer of that title.
Yeah, there's a safeguard to make sure that somebody doesn't go down there and just get the title transferred without anything being done or without anybody else knowing.
Correct. And by having the affidavit process, it makes you not have to go through probate.
Are there any more questions or comments on HB 392? Hearing none, was a roll. All right, anybody that was a no on the last one won't be added to this?
I do.
All right, if you'll add them to it, your bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to try to get through the next one, HB 165, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is House Bill 165, and what this does, 41 states have require parental consent for any form of vaccination, and all this does is just require written consent from a parent.
Well, because we got an
And there's an
amendment. I think
amendment.
Senator Elliott was going to offer. I'll offer it, but Representative Brown, if you could explain the amendment.
Yeah, all this does is it takes one word and makes it or. It was supposed to be in the original amendment that was offered in the House Judiciary, and it wasn't done correctly. So
And or what?
Yeah.
I believe it's line 28 when it spells out additionally the sections for an unemancipated minor may not give consent to the administration of a vaccination for himself or herself unless the minor is not dependent on a parent or legal guardian for support. And then it says living apart from his or her parents on another individual acting in loco and managing his or her own affairs. And it says or managing his or her own affairs.
All right, got the amendment that's been offered. I've offered the amendment. Senator Bell, second on that. Any opposition using previous favorable roll on the adoption of the amendment? Hearing none.
Yeah, make me know on that amendment, because if somebody's emancipated, that means they're supposed to be on their own. Their own decisions. Huh?
If you're emancipated, then these things would not apply
Okay.
to you under that amendment.
Thank you. See, that's why it's good to explain things.
The amendment is adopted. Back on the bill as amended. Motion for favorable by Senator Bell. I'll second that motion. Any opposition using previous roll on that? Hearing none, bill's given favorable report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I
Thanks,
have been
Senator.
told that that's the last bill that we can deal with. We'll see you back here planning on tomorrow morning at 8:30.